was late afternoon, the sun stretching long shadows across the park, bathing the trees in golden light. On a bench beside the fountain sat Marcus Carter, a 16-year-old black teen, idly scrolling through his phone. The park was calm, interrupted only by the distant laughter of children and the occasional chirp of birds. For Marcus, it was a rare kind of peace, the sort he had learned to treasure in a world that so often felt unbearably heavy. But today, that calm was about to break. From the edge of his vision, Marcus spotted a woman walking briskly toward him. Her blonde hair was yanked tightly back, her expression tense with focus. She stopped just a few feet away, glanced at him for only a second, then turned her gaze aside. "I don't like the look of him." The words slipped out softly, almost under her breath, but Marcus caught them clearly. His pulse quickened. He'd felt this before, the unspoken judgment, the suspicion that came with having the wrong skin color in the wrong place. She didn't know him, didn't know his story, yet her eyes weighed on him like an accusation. And then, without hesitation, she drew out her phone and dialed 911. "Yes, I need the police. There's a black teenager sitting in the park, acting suspicious. He's been here more than an hour. I'm not sure what he's doing, but he's making me uncomfortable." Her voice was steady, but Marcus could hear the undercurrent of fear, the kind that painted him as a threat simply for existing where he sat. His throat tightened. He hadn't asked for this. All he wanted was quiet, but now the air around him felt like it was about to turn hostile. The wail of sirens grew louder, closing in. Marcus rose slowly, phone still clutched in his hand, the screen filled with blurred notifications. What's going to happen now? The thought hit like a gut punch. He knew this pattern, a call, an accusation, then chaos. He drew a deep breath, chest tight. He had done nothing wrong, yet here he was, about to be treated like a criminal by someone who saw him as nothing but danger. What Marcus didn't know yet was that the game was about to change. He never fit the box people carved for him. He wasn't the rebellious troublemaker others assumed black teens in his neighborhood were. Marcus was a dreamer, a kid with goals. He wanted to write, maybe even direct movies to create something that mattered. But how could he reach for those dreams when every move he made was questioned? When peace could flip into confrontation simply because of his skin? As the squad car screeched to a stop, Marcus sighed and ran a hand through his hair. He had been here before, but it never got easier. The officer stepped out quickly, his hand hovering near his holster. The woman who had called stood nearby, her face set with judgment, her finger pointing squarely at Marcus. "This is him," she said sharply, her voice trembling just enough to betray her nerves. "He's acting suspicious." The officer's gaze darted between Marcus and the woman, his eyes narrowing. "Got ID on you?" His tone was controlled, but tension laced his words. Marcus swallowed hard, forcing himself to stay composed. He handed over his ID, the plastic slipping slightly in his trembling fingers. The officer barely glanced at it before fixing Marcus with a cold stare. "I'm going to need you to come with me," he said, reaching for Marcus's arm. Marcus's heart hammered. He wanted to resist, to speak up, but he knew the rules. Don't fight. Don't give them a reason. Still, his mind reeled. He was just a kid, guilty of nothing, yet moments away from being dragged off. The officer's grip tightened, and Marcus felt the weight of eyes from every corner of the park. People whispered, but no one intervened. The woman who called looked smug, convinced she knew how this would end. But she had no idea what was about to unfold. Just as the officer began tugging Marcus toward the car, a voice cut through the tension. "Excuse me, is there a problem here?" The officer froze. The woman's head snapped up. Marcus looked too, and his breath caught. It was Yvonne Carter, his mother. Her steps were measured, her presence commanding. A sharp suit clung to her frame, an FBI badge clipped at her waist. Her gaze locked onto the officer's, steady and cutting. His grip loosened instantly. "Mom," Marcus whispered, relief crashing over him. Yvonne turned to the woman, her voice calm but slicing through the air like steel. "Did you just call the police on my son?" The woman stammered, her eyes darting between Yvonne and the officer. I thought—" "You thought," Yvonne interrupted, her tone icy. "You assumed that because he's black, he was up to something. Because he was sitting in a park, in daylight. You made him suspicious." The woman flushed, unable to speak. The officer's face paled, realizing the balance of power had shifted. Yvonne stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. Next time you feel the urge to call the cops on someone based on nothing but skin color, remember this moment. Because you just made a mistake you won't forget. Embarrassment burned across the woman's cheeks. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Marcus stood frozen, relief flooding him, yet frustration lingered. What if this hadn't been his mother? What if another kid had been left defenseless, with no one to shield them? The thought gnawed at him. Yvonne's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, her expression hardening. "We're done here," she said firmly to the officer. "Take her report and leave." The officer gave a stiff nod and returned to his car. The woman, red-faced and humiliated, said nothing. Yvonne wrapped an arm around Marcus's shoulders. "You okay?" she asked softly, her voice now warm. Marcus exhaled, nodding. "Yeah, thanks, Mom." As they walked toward their car, Marcus felt the weight of what had just happened. This wasn't just protection, it was revelation. His mother wasn't only his guardian, she was a force, proof that change was possible. "Next time, let's stay away from this park," Yvonne said lightly, a smile breaking through. Marcus chuckled. Deal. But in the back of his mind, he couldn't stop thinking. What if she hadn't been there? What if things had gone differently? How many more times would people like him face injustice for simply existing? It could have been anyone. It could have been you. So, what would you have done in Marcus's shoes? Or his mother's? Tell us in the comments. Let's keep this conversation alive because awareness is the first step toward change. Together we can make sure voices like Marcus's are heard,